As Father Joe said, this gospel continues Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And it comes from chapter 5 in Matthew's gospel, which is a very important chapter in that gospel because it's kind of like a job description for those who choose to be disciples of Christ Jesus. It kind of outlines what Jesus would like us as his disciples to do in the world. Now, last week, you remember, Father Dave was here, and he told us that Jesus wanted us to be salt of the earth and a light to the world. And we were supposed to go outside the four walls of Seton and practice our faith out there and do the good works out there so others could see them and give praise to God. See, faith must be lived, and we can't just live it within the four walls, as Father Dave said. We have to go out and be the presence of Christ's love in our world. Now, today and next week, Jesus kind of delves into the law and what he expects his disciples to do when following it and living it out. And the first thing Jesus reminds us is he has not come in any way to abolish the law or the prophets. He has come to fulfill it. Now, as I was reflecting on this gospel, I was trying to come up with an example, an everyday example. And I have one I think parents in particular will be able to identify with. Let's say you're planning for people to come over, a family gathering, and you're both, husband and wife, are trying to get the house ready. And one of you walks by your child's room, and it's a complete disaster. Clothes are all over the floor, the drawers are open, end tables, closets, wet clothes on the floor, dirty socks, anything you can think of. And you go and you say, I just don't have time to clean your room. I need you to do this for me. Well, they hem and haw and give you reasons. Well, I'll just close my door. No, I need it clean. I'll come back in about an hour and we'll check on you. So you close the door and you say a little prayer saying, I hope they will do it. Well, you come back an hour later, you open that door, and you're amazed. Everything is in place. Everything's cleaned up. The bed's made. It really looks pretty good. And they're laying on their bed, reading a magazine, and you smile at them. And then you walk over to their closet and you open it up. And everything that was on the floor and everything else is in there, even the wet things all kind of piled together. And you look at them and you say, what? And they go, well, you just told me to clean your room. You didn't say anything about the closet. What that young person did is fulfill the letter of the law. You were looking for the spirit of it to do the full job. That's what Jesus wants us to do when it comes to God's law and the laws and words of the prophets. The first one he looked at today was murder. And we know all as disciples we are not to murder or kill anyone. But Jesus says, as my disciples, I need you to go further to be the presence of my love in this world. Even if you are angry with someone else or use derogatory names or put them down or verbally abuse them, you are just as liable to that law. Now, God knows that we all make mistakes, and he says, I understand, and when you come and ask for forgiveness, yes, I will give it to you, but as my disciple, I want you to go out and reconcile that difference with the person you were angry with or that you ridiculed. See, by doing that, that brings the presence of God's love back into the world. And that's what he wants us to do as his disciples. He goes on next to say, you shall not commit adultery. But if you look with lust in your heart or in your mind at another person, you have already caused yourself to sin. When you lust, you make someone unholy. You make them not a person. You make them an object of pleasure. And there is no way that God's love can be in that situation. Therefore, He wants us to eliminate that from our minds and our hearts. Now, he goes on to say that you should cut off an arm or poke out your eye. That was a case of hyperbole. It's a homiletic thing that you can do in Jesus' time to exaggerate a point. He does not want us to go around as maimed disciples, but he does want us to cut out what is ever causing us to commit that sin out of our lives. Whether it's TV, movies, print media, things on the internet, whatever it would be, that's what Jesus wants us to cut out of our lives, so that all our relationships can be based just on the appreciation of another person and God's love within them and us. Jesus then goes on to tackle the issue of divorce in his time. See, in Jesus' time, women did not have the same legal status. They were almost like property. Men were the only one that had the rights to do things, and they were the only ones that could divorce. So Jesus was telling men, you are not to just write a certificate of divorce to get rid of your wife for trivial means. For example, you didn't like the way she cooked or kept the house, so you were going to bring someone else in. No, Jesus says, as my disciples, you will have a marriage based on love and equality. And you will work on that love within that so that my love and my presence can be present not only in your family, but in the community and the world. Now, if Jesus were here today, I'm sure there would be other things he would say are acceptable for divorce. There is no way he would subject a person to live in a situation of verbal or physical abuse or endangering the safety of themselves or others or their children. But anybody who's been married for any length of time knows that every day is not rosy in a marriage. Marriage takes work. It takes a lot of patience and love. And Jesus says, that is what I call you to do when you're married and my disciple. I expect you to do all you can to make that marriage a presence of love, not with only for yourselves, but within your family, your community, and the world. Love is the basis of marriage, and that is what is supposed to be worked on each and every day through good times and bad. Lastly, Jesus says, you must live lives of integrity. No shipshod language, no iffy situations, no saying, well, maybe I'll do this. No, make your yes, yes, and your no, no. Live your word, live your actions, be your truth. That is what disciples do. They act honestly with other people, whether in family situations, in community, in business, whatever. Jesus does not want his disciples just to observe the law. It's not just a checklist. He wants us to live it. And he wants to absorb that law into our hearts and use it to be the presence of his love in our world. As we heard in that first reading, we all have a choice. We can choose good or evil. And many of us here are here because we want to choose good and be his disciples. So therefore, as we look at and reflect on this law, let us do what we have committed here to Seton to do, to follow Jesus, his teachings, and go forth out and to be the presence of his love to our families, to our communities, and to our world by serving others. That's what a disciple in Jesus' eyes does. And that's what we are called to do, to be the presence of his love in our world.
Thank you for watching this week's homily here at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. We invite you to join us for liturgy any weekend that you might be in the area. You can contact us at mysaintelizabeth.com or on Facebook. Thank you very much.